Again, we want to welcome you. We're so glad that you're here. I'm Scott and my wife Abigail, and we are with relationship experts. And we are so pumped that you have chosen to work on yourself to be able to help you in your relationships move forward. Tonight, we're going to be talking about EQ, emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, the beginnings, and really focusing on this whole idea of being self-aware. So we're going to kind of give you a broad overview of emotional intelligence, just in case you're not familiar. And then we're going to get into a little bit more detail about the piece of being self-aware for the rest of our time and giving some good strategies I think is going to help move you forward.
We are certified professional life coaches, and that means that we help people move forward professionally. That's our whole goal. And whether you're thinking about work or home, your community, or your church, this is something that you're going to be able to personalize for yourself and really dig in, get some traction to move yourself forward. So we're glad you're here. Relationship Experts is a nonprofit organization in McKinney, Texas. And our whole mission is to help people grow their relationships and to train and equip those who work with people with relationships so that we can grow the world and make us all healthier.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get an idea then of what in the heck are we talking about when we talk about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence really became very popular in the late 1980s with a book about emotional intelligence. And since then, they brought out many books, but the one that's most popular is Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradbury. And in it, he defines emotional intelligence as your ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and your ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior in relationships.
It's so critical. Emotional intelligence, like Scott said, hasn't really been identified as a thing for so very long, but it is one of those things that people are catching wind of very quickly, because people who are able to recognize and understand and connect with others, they are succeeding in business. They're climbing the corporate ladder. They have thriving relationships. So it's really a worthy thing to dig into.
It really is. And, and as we think about ourselves, we have to recognize that it's not just about us, but it is also how these work together with your IQ, which is your intellectual quotient or intelligence quotient, and your personality. Now, what's interesting about personality and your IQ is that they're very fixed. You have a certain wiring, and that wiring is really just what we call God-given. Some people have a penchant for change, some people don't. Some people are actively getting involved, and some people aren't. And you can modify, but in general, that doesn't change. And the same is true with intelligence. You can work at helping yourself be able to retain information better, to be able to focus on certain tasks. But overall, you can't really change your intelligence quotient. There's only so much you can do. And now the studies show that there's no direct correlation between personality and IQ as far in emotional intelligence. However, there is at a minimum some level of, some people maybe have an easier penchant because of their personality to be able to process emotions differently or retain information differently. But there's no direct correlation. But what they do find is emotional intelligence is incredibly changeable. And that's why we focus there. And in fact, they used to just focus on IQ tests for business people. And they recognize that just because someone's really intelligent does not mean they have emotional intelligence, which is what allows them to be successful in business.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so if these other areas are a little bit more fixed, we can only modify, we can't really change, then EQ becomes a wonderful focus point, because we really can make a difference here. And so let's put some energy toward changing the things we actually can change.
So let's talk about how the brain processes
data. A little bit of brain science. Some people are like, yay, brains. And then other people are like, oh my gosh, really? This reminds me of science.
Exactly. We're really going to talk about brains right now. But we are, because it's really important.
This is fascinating, too, about how God made us. And a lot of people don't know this. So I'm really glad to share this with you guys tonight.
Yeah. And so when you think about your five senses. And some people say there's 6 senses or 20 senses, but we're going to focus on the 5. These are ones I learned as a kid,
That's
right?
right. That's right. Old school.
What can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I taste? What can I touch? And it's so basically it's the way we interact with the world around us. And right now I'm seeing a computer screen, but reality is I'm not seeing a computer screen. My head is telling me that this is a computer screen because of what my eyes see.
Okay, that's deep.
It is deep. But what it really is electrical impulses that are coming through the nerves and everything in my eyes that then go up my brainstem. And you can see this in this picture, the little lightning bolts that go up my brainstem. And the first place that they hit is what's called the limbic system. Now, what's interesting about the limbic system is this is how the place where we decide what we feel. So it happens before we get our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And so feelings actually come before thoughts. And that's how it influences what we're actually thinking. And so it may be, yay, I've got a computer, or it may be like, oh, I've been at this computer all day. Same thing. It's just, my eyes see the same thing, but it's how I interpret it. And so the reality when you're becoming more self-aware is understanding that all of your thoughts are filtered through a feeling. But that doesn't mean that your thoughts don't matter, because eventually they're going to get to the part of your brain that helps you to think rationally. In fact, there's this great illustration in the book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And it talks about the surfer who was out in the water and saw a shark out in the water. So he starts screaming for everybody to go to shore, and which is really great. Boom, kind of that ability to kick in to just do something. But then when he started to try to paddle, he couldn't do it because the shark was actually circling around him. He froze. He was paralyzed. Mm-hmm. He was like, I'm going to die. My kids are not going to have a dad. And he just literally, his body would not work because the rational thought couldn't get there.
Yeah.
The feelings were so intense about this idea of a shark killing him. And finally, the more he sat there, his blood pressure settled down. He was able to start thinking again, and then his impulses got back to the thinking rationally, and he very quickly started paddling to shore, and he made it. Mm-hmm. But it really took getting past the feelings. And so often, when we are dealing with people specifically, we get mad, we get hurt, we get angry, whatever it might be, and we freeze, that we can't think rationally.
Yeah, sometimes we do hard things, bad things. Sometimes the things we say and the actions we take are really dangerous in that moment because the feelings do hit really hard and they hit first. And so some of us, based on our personality type, might say some of those things before we've processed it. This was a real game changer for me when I understood it because I'm a more analytical type. I tend to reserve, take time to kind of process something before I freak out. Of course, there are always exceptions to that. But in general, I was, to be honest, a little judgmental of people who let their feelings show too quickly. And this was a real reality check for me to recognize and have compassion for the fact that those feelings actually are what come first, and that is how God made us. And so while it's still important for us to determine what we're going to do with a feeling, I get now why some people let those feelings leak out before they've processed it. I have more compassion, I guess you could say, less judgmental about that reality.
Yeah, and just as process of understanding it, I think it's really, it's the first step in many ways, right?
Right.
Acknowledging, oh, okay, this is how I think. And it's not that you want to think that way, it's just the way we're wired to think. So,
and that feeling actually is what ends up helping us take action.
That's right.
I mean, we can feel angry, and that can cause us to have the courage to speak up about an injustice. Or maybe we see a picture of ourselves and we're overweight and we feel disgusted by that. Well, that disgust actually propels us to make change in our lives and to start moving and exercising or eating differently. So those emotions can be really powerful.
Well, and then on the positive side, love.
Yes.
Right? We see a person, I see that there are billions of people, but there's a person in specific that when I see her, I just feel love.
Our neighbor?
She's my neighbor, but I feel care. but I don't feel that about everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then I'm sure, when she sees me, she thinks, wow,
I do.
What a beautiful, handsome man.
I do. I do.
Oh, right. It's you. Yes. Anyway, so we'll move on here because there are 4 competencies to EQ. And
they build on each other.
They do. And that's why those arrows are pointing to the next one. So we're going to focus on self-awareness, but just to kind of give you a broad understanding, we'll come back to self-awareness, this idea of being aware of yourself. But once you're aware of yourself, it's easier to manage yourself and what you do. Mm-hmm. And then it's easier to be more socially aware. Mm-hmm. You probably have people in y'all's lives that you go, oh, I wish they were more socially aware. Maybe you're that person in their life. And then you're able to actually manage the relationship. But some people are like, well, I just really want to focus on these other people because really they're the ones that are screwed up. And that actually is a sign of not being self-aware because we all are screwed up. And we have to start with ourselves. That's what actually helps us to see the world around us better.
Yes, it's only after we have really become self-aware and learned how to manage that we can objectively or more objectively look at what's going on. Until we're grounded in on our own 2 feet, we really are ineffective at assessing what's going on around us. A little bit more self-absorbed and off kilter. So start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Yes, let's talk about being self-aware.
Self-awareness is about developing a straightforward and honest understanding of what makes you tick. Let that sink in a little bit. You were made uniquely to be you, and you have life experiences that have caused you to think what you think and do what you do. You have a family of origin that kind of created you to be who you are. And that self-awareness, that understanding kind of who you are and why you do the things you do is really a valuable place to identify. And we're all on a continuum. Some of us have already spent quite a bit of time trying to process our past or become more aware of what's going on. But others of us are newer to that journey and we haven't really taken the time. Maybe we thought that was selfish to take time to evaluate that sort of thing, or we didn't know how. So tonight's a good start for you.
And so as we begin to look at this on a deeper level, that a huge part of self-awareness is understanding that your feelings have different intensities.
Yes.
And I think it's easy. Many of us, I think, are, I hate to say emotionally stunted, but the way we talk about our emotions might be emotionally stunted.
Well, we kind of talk like kindergartners.
We do.
I feel mad, sad, tired, happy. It's about all we got.
Scared.
Mm-hmm.
And so recognizing an intensity of a feeling. So just kind of give an example. I could feel frustrated, or I could feel exasperated, right? And if I can understand in myself the differences between those 2 feelings, then it's going to help me be able to process better. At the same time, I could feel joyous, or I might feel mellow. Right? Those aren't really.
Those are also different.
They're very different. They're not the same. And it's like mellow doesn't mean I'm mad or upset. It just means, I'm fine, I'm good, but not joyous or exuberant. So we have this chart that we're going to show you. This is from Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and we're just going to look at some of these words because these are powerful. So across the top, you have your basic 5, as he would say, your 5 basic categories: happy, sad, angry, afraid, and ashamed. And on the left-hand side, you have low, medium, and high. And so the low category, let's just take happy for a moment. Again, we have mellow, or pleased. If my wife says to our kids, I'm pleased with the work you've done, they're probably not going to be like, wow, I knocked it out of the park. They're like, okay. Or maybe it's a little bit more, I'm satisfied. If I say to you, Ab, I feel satisfied in our relationship. I mean, that's good.
Doesn't feel great.
Doesn't feel great.
Doesn't really feel like the place I want to be.
Versus, I feel passionate. I feel fired up. I'm ecstatic. I'm exuberant, right? These are words that just in themselves elicit the sense of yes. Mm-hmm. But then you have on the other side, we'll go over to angry. I feel irritated, annoyed, perturbed. That's your low end. Your medium, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm agitated. To this high end of furious, enraged, outraged, irate, seething. I think seething is such a powerful word. And so these are kind of your, just kind of give you these opposite extremes, from happy to angry, right? But recognize that if you can start to master some of these words, the people for you to be able to recognize, what am I really feeling? You're probably not just angry, right? In fact, when we've worked with couples where, as I've said earlier, we're certified professional life coaches, and we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, and we do this optometrist test. I want you to talk a little more about that.
Yeah, I always wished I was, no, not really. But we all have glasses in our family, so we are at the optometrist quite a bit. And he's really good at saying, is it better clearer at A or more like B? Okay, is this better or is it more like this? And so we use that process of trying to fine tune and identify what word is most accurate. Now, if these words are intimidating to you, please know you can look them up. I know Google and Siri would love to tell you what they mean, because you want to grow your vocabulary a little bit, dig in and identify what word is most accurate, because it's really powerful to communicate that. So taking some time to kind of process, is it more this or this? And I'll tell you, from working with folks like we have, especially working with couples, we have seen there be such power and just really light bulbs going on when people are able to identify the emotion. And it really makes the person that you share with, if you choose to share the emotion you feel with someone else, makes them less defensive, because it's a vulnerability factor, and it's being specific and transparent. It makes them less defensive.
Well, and so often, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, Ab, that people will be stuck in that middle category of angry. The reality is none of the words fit well. In fact, what they really are is maybe afraid or ashamed, and that's those categories.
Yes.
And it comes out as anger.
Right.
I mean, I know that's been true in our relationship, where I'm more embarrassed than angry, but my immature response would be to respond in anger.
Yes.
And it's because I'm embarrassed, or mortified. I think would oftentimes probably more what I'd make you. But but as you start thinking about all these emotions that you're feeling and becoming more self-aware of this, we're going to talk about some strategies over the next several minutes that will actually help you be able to process this, hopefully, through where you're moving toward. So, we're going to get into 5 self-awareness strategies.
The first is to recognize that feelings just are. Feelings are what they are. Remember the brain picture? They're the very first thing that hits us. And so they are a part of life. God actually gave us emotions. God himself had emotions. And sometimes we can get quick, especially if our family of origin taught us that a certain emotion might not be a very good thing to feel, then we can stuff it down, or we can feel some shame about what we feel. Feelings are just feelings. It's really about what you do with them that matters. And so I think giving ourselves some space and grace to know that those feelings are going to hit us, they're going to wash over us. And that in and of itself isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's good.
It is good. And trying to move it beyond the feeling place, right, to the rational thought.
Yes.
And so then we can process the rational thought through, or process that feeling through the rational thought and be able to move forward from there.
Absolutely.
And so, there's just one last thing I want to say on this. I apologize. And so when you do recognize this, and you start to process, you're oftentimes going to want others to be right there with you.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I just want to remind everybody that we're talking about self-awareness. When I was in grad school and I was taking some counseling and learning about all these really cool topics, I would come home and lovingly tell my wife how she just wasn't fighting right. And I have learned.
I remember those days.
I'm sure you do. That wasn't the healthiest thing to do. And so the idea of becoming self-aware is really staying focused on yourself. Telling someone else, your feelings aren't just what they are. It's what you do with them matters. That's probably not going to help, especially if you're saying it in a sarcastic, snarky way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into this second self-awareness strategy, and that is identify who and what pushes your buttons, then process why.
Yes.
Why does that push your buttons? And so oftentimes we're like, I just don't like that person. I don't like them. They bug me.
Yes. Take a scenario at work, for example. Someone does something, and you would probably at first just blame it all on them. They are handling this wrong, or they come at me wrong, or they drive me crazy. But digging deeper to identify why.
Yeah, and then it's not about doing anything with it yet. And you will do something with it. That's in the self-management piece. But it really is really trying to understand, why does this bug me? Mm-hmm. What is it about the person or the wiring? In fact, I was talking with a good friend yesterday, and they have a new boss, and they were saying how they don't get along well. But it's because it's like watching a clone of themselves in personality, in the way they process, the way they handle situations. Mm-hmm. And so they recognize, oh, this is the problem.
Yeah.
And so, really understanding this, and some people even journal. They'll start writing down, whether maybe even just taking notes on their phone or actually on paper, to be able to process this better.
I'm thinking of parenting too. So many parenting examples or marriage examples about how things around you push your buttons. Sometimes it's because it's a value that they're coming up against, or a preconceived notion you have. But strategy 3 is about observing the ripple effect from your emotions. The result of your emotion is probably wider than you can even see, but at least observe what you can see as far as ripple effect. Now, this could include yourself, what you end up doing or saying because of it, and maybe even not saying and not doing. How does it make you stuff down or remove yourself from a situation? And also how it affects your family, how it affects the people you work with. Maybe even how it affects your own performance. I've been noticing for myself that when I get emotionally distracted or concerned and feeling anxious, it actually paralyzes me to even get anything effectively done that day. I am a very driven person, and I like to run with my tasks and get things done. And when I have emotions that I'm trying to figure out, or they're not in check, it actually paralyzes me. Mm-hmm. So I notice the impact both on my day and my lifestyle, as well as the people and the relationships that's impacting.
Yeah, and some people, the way they process their emotions is on the inside. So they may look at this strategy and go, well, ripple effect, I don't show emotion, right? So I'm in good shape because mine would have no ripple effect because I don't show it.
Ooh,
but
Mythbuster coming up
is that by not showing emotion, you still have a ripple effect on other people.
For sure.
Because we expect people to have emotion. And when you don't respond verbally or even non-verbally, and it's okay, because you're processing, which is, again, nothing wrong with the emotion itself. It's what you do with it, but that you don't acknowledge anything. People, it doesn't ripple effect. And they start wondering, well, why is this person being cold, or why is this person not talking to me? But oftentimes, even though you're not showing the emotion, you will still pull away from that relationship while you're processing. So there's still a ripple effect, because people will know that there's something you're not happy about. And so, again, being aware of the ripple effect of your emotions is really, really important. And so, again, just a kind of quick reminder, recognize that feelings just are what you do with them that matters. Identify who and what push your buttons, and why does that push your button. Then observe the ripple effect of your emotions on others, to then get to this fourth strategy, which I love.
Yeah.
I love this one.
Look for well, that's because you love movies.
I do.
You can look for yourself in movies and TV shows.
Is it because you're a star? Is it like, I'm Chris Evans, so I can do this?
Yeah,
or no?
I don't think it's that. No. I'm Iron Man. No. No. You can, but here's what's really powerful is you can identify, sometimes that's what's so incredible about watching a good drama unfold, is that you can actually see yourself or identify the emotions you're having. Someone says a line and they're articulating something really powerful, or the emotion, the power of it all is really riveting and touching. So I think that's one of the things. Good drama shows us real life, and it unfolds for us the emotions and the things that we all have in common as far as a human experience. And so you can sometimes see something on the screen that helps you process, that helps you identify, or articulates even more clearly than you could what is going on with you. Sort of like me too. I've experienced that. I understand what's going on there. And it gives you an opportunity to connect with another person, and to understand yourself more fully.
Well, and then also sometimes in movies, there are the people we don't connect with that kind of push our buttons. Now, they're oftentimes stereotypical, but again, you can ask yourself, why does that person push my buttons?
Absolutely.
Or what about that character pushes that character's buttons, etc. And it is so fascinating when you see it.
Yeah, I can know what you're talking about. I can see. I've laughed out loud, which I don't do very often.
I know.
Those of you who don't know me, I don't laugh out loud very often. But I will laugh at a conflict that represents a conflict I've had, where I can see someone getting their buttons pushed in the same way I do, and it helps me identify, aha, that's what I hate too. That's what that person does to me. Now I see why that bothers me. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. And hopefully that's what you're finding with all these strategies, is that when you start thinking about yourself, it helps you to process those around you as well, which is that's why these build on each other. And it doesn't mean you have to master this before you can move on, but it really does mean you want to be able to focus so that you can be moving forward in a healthy way.
Yeah. Well, again, you can't manage yourself very well unless you really have identified what you're feeling.
That's right. Now, this last strategy, you might go, well, this is a no-brainer with everything else we said. We talked about studying yourself in movies, but now we're just talking about studying yourself. Study your patterns. What are your values? And sometimes we act totally contradictory to what we say we value, but yet we don't see a problem with it. And so then the question is, do you really value that? From the, I'll say the God perspective, people will do things that are totally against what they would say they believe in. But they're like, well, but that's just yelling and screaming at my family. That's not really me doing something bad. But that is bad, right? That's not handling things in a healthy way. And it's not being aware of how you should control yourself, which begins the next level that we're going to hit next month.
There are people that, well, I think all of us at some point, we experience seasons of discouragement or defeat. And perhaps you're listening to this now and you're like, yes, I am experiencing that. Sometimes it's because we haven't been living in line with our values, because we haven't had the courage to act it out. And then over time, it just becomes this oppressive blanket that really keeps us down. And so if you're in a season of feeling yucky, this strategy could cause you to identify what's going on, what kind of emotions are getting to reign in your life. Maybe they have too much power, like toddlers in the driver's seat. If an emotion has been taking you over, bringing you down, this would be a great way to kind of identify, ooh, that's not really how I want to live, or I'm experiencing that because I'm not living the way I know is right, and that can suck us in.
And part of this also goes back to personality. And, I'm a very relational person overall. And so when a relationship is not going well, it really bugs me. I hate the idea of letting someone down on a relational level. And that may be you as well. So I had to identify what's my pattern, and what did I do that let that person down versus what was beyond my control that I'm trying to now own, and others as well. Or maybe you're not a very relational person and your patterns impact that relationship in a negative sense because it's like, let's just get this done. Let's move on. I don't really want to process this. It doesn't matter. Let's get the project. And so recognizing your patterns and your personality, I think, are really important. And in fact, one of the nice things we have for you is another webinar that you can actually watch a replay of, very inexpensive, on DISC personality. So you can go to our channel on bigmarker.com and check out that webinar so that you can be more aware of your personality and your wiring so you can start to see your patterns and your values as well. So these are the 5 strategies that we've given. But now what do you do with it?
Mhm.
So let's
Well,
talk.
we hope this is helpful information, but it can be a little bit of overload, or there's good information, but what do I do about it now? And we at Relationship Experts are all about actually giving you an on ramp, helping walk alongside you so that you can make change happen in your life.
So we're going to move now to what are called SMART goals. Now, SMART goals are really important. In fact, you may have used these if you've been in business. Um, the idea of a SMART goal is that it's not this nebulous concept of I want to be a better man, right?
As good as it gets.
As good as it gets. It's not just that. It's because, okay, so if I, spend 5 more minutes a month with my family, does that mean I'm a better husband or father? Probably.
It's pretty vague.
Pretty
nebulous.
vague idea, right? So what we really want to be able to do is identify goals, and we always start with the R, because the R is the reason you're doing whatever this goal is, or the result you're hoping to truly achieve from this.
It's the motivator.
It's the motivator. It's the why, right? But why probably didn't sound as good if you put a W there as a Y. So we go with SMART. And
oh dear,
I know you married me over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about your reason or result, why do you want to be more self-aware? Why is that important to you? What are you hoping to accomplish in life by being more self-aware? What's the benefit? What would be different in 3 months if you became more self-aware and you're able to look back and go, wow, look at how I've changed, right? That's your reason. That can be your result you're looking for.
Even now, as we're talking, why don't you go ahead and try to identify that for yourself? Take a moment to think through, what is your motivating factor? What is it that is the result you're looking for? Why'd you log on tonight? What do you want to have different?
And so once you start to begin to process that, you then want to come up with a very specific goal. I want to be a better person, or I want to be more self-aware because I think it's important.
Yeah, that's not going to get you.
But that's a good R, I guess. But it's not going to get you very far. So a specific goal might be one of the strategies that I want to be more self-aware because I think it's going to move me forward in my career. Okay, so then you'd be looking to see if it's moving you forward. So the specific goal, though, would be related to it, but that's not it. And so it'd be, so therefore, I'm going to something. I'm going to watch myself and really process who's pushing my buttons at work and why are they pushing. Why do I think they're pushing my button? What is about that? Could be one of the specific goals, or there could be others that help you identify more about yourself. Or I'm going to use broader words in how I feel.
I'm thinking of that strategy of TV and movies and finding your emotions, that you might say, I'm going to one movie or one show a week, I am going to look for emotions that I've experienced or situations that I've experienced for the purpose of processing emotions. That's measurable.
Absolutely.
Either you did that one movie or one TV show a week, or you didn't.
Yeah, and so now you can know, yep, did it, check it off my list, because it's great to have checklists. But then you also know if it's achievable. So I'm going to watch every Marvel movie to look at every character and do a character analysis of each character to really understand them better.
Wow.
That would be a lot of movies, 50-some hours.
I think you wouldn't be helping me parent or cook, or I don't think you'd be doing your work.
I wouldn't be doing anything.
Watching Marvel movies 24/7.
In fact, there was even like this marathon they had before the newest one came out, and they still had like yoga people in because they were trying to get people to move between the movies.
Wow.
Because it's just not healthy to do that, right?
Yeah, you want to pick an achievable goal, something that you really can do, because otherwise you set yourself up for failure. Because when you don't accomplish it, then you're discouraged, defeated that you didn't do it, which actually can spiral you downward. Feels like 2 steps back.
It really does. And yeah, in fact, we've had people, they commit to something every single day for the next however many months. And it's, okay, what if we went like 3 times? You've never done this before, or they're going to read something every day. And so really find something that's achievable, but also this last one is that time bound.
I love time bound. That's my favorite.
This is so beneficial in everything,
Mm-hmm.
but specifically around being focusing on your self-awareness and saying, okay, I want to watch a movie a week for 3 weeks, looking for how I'm am in the movie, looking for things that reflect me, um, so that I can become more self-aware. At the end of 3 weeks, I'm going to reevaluate what
Yeah.
I've learned about myself.
Yep.
To see, is it moving me forward?
Absolutely.
Right? Because that's the thing, right? Is it moving me forward? It's not like, yep, I did it, great, done.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not the goal, right? The result is you want to hit that higher goal.
Well, you do need to give yourself some time. I mean, sometimes people say, I'm going to do this, and it's just a fleeting thing. But if you give yourself, I'm going to do this for the next 6 weeks, what do they say about how long it takes to make a habit? It took me one time getting a s'more frappuccino.
I was going to say, yeah, it depends on what it is.
I was done. But to give yourself a fair chance at working on something and to really develop and grow yourself and your relationships, you might need to say, hey, I'm going to give this 6 weeks. I'm going to put it on my calendar to remind me to evaluate, has this been working or not? And we're just big fans of SMART goals, and it's been powerful for us to apply that, not just to business, but to relationships. If I am trying to parent differently, I might make a specific and measurable goal and then say I'm going to check back with myself in 2 weeks and to look at the R. Did the R happen? Is it the result and the reason that I did it? If, for example, I'm trying to get more connected with my teenagers, then I can assess, is that happening? Because if what I was doing wasn't making me feel more connected to them and understanding where they are, then it's not worth continuing. I need to reevaluate and adjust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's not just understanding what pushes my buttons, but then that's going to lead us to this next area that we're going to talk about in another webinar, but what I do about it, right? And so that's what you want to get excited about. Like, okay, I want to do something different about this. So let's look at an example real quick, because I think this could be very beneficial.
Yeah, in this example, we just kind of outlined what each part of the letter, each part of SMART is. So the S in this example is something specific, is to identify how I feel at a certain situation. So you might choose home or you might choose work or church, but basically you're just trying to identify how you feel. And you're going to do that in a measurable way, and that is 2 times of processing, 5 minutes each. So it's very measurable. You can know whether you did that or you didn't know that. And you might make a goal that it's twice this week, which seems pretty achievable. I could take 5 minutes twice this week, even in my busy life, if I thought that the R was worth it. And of course, I should have said the R first, because that's what we always think of first. But in this case, in this example, it's for the purpose of grounding myself and connecting with others more effectively. I'm trying to figure out how I'm feeling, what's going on inside of me, so that I can manage that and connect well. And the time bound here in this example is for 1 month. 1 month, I'm going to do that twice a week, 5 minutes each. And then I'm going to evaluate whether it reached those goals that I had and those reasons that I put it out there to begin with. So that's a little bit of a way to evaluate, lay it out. I also end up writing it as a sentence. Do you do that? The language person in me just wants to make that SMART goal into a fluent sentence. I desire to be grounded and connected with others, so I will. And I kind of write it out as a sentence.
All right, so we had a question that came in.
Okay.
And so I'll ask the question to you, my compadre here. So the question was, all right, so if I can understand it, hopefully get this correct. I'm trying to process people that push my buttons. What do I do if everything they do pushes my button?
Oh my goodness. Well, I feel for you, because that is challenging. But I would really start to parse it out and separate it out, because you still need to identify what it is. So even if you make a list of 25 things, it really is still good to identify it. I would journal it. I would write it down. I don't mean journal like write a whole chapter or anything if you're not a writer, but I just mean bullet points. Just this and this and this and this that bothers you, but then put a feeling beside each of those things. So when this person, let's say they interrupt me, well, go to that feeling chart. Go to that chart and identify, how do you feel when they interrupt you? And then they're late to the meetings that you hold. How do you feel when they walk in late to your meeting?
That's good.
And really parse it out, because I think sometimes we snowball everything together. And I see this in marriage a lot, not with you because you're perfect, but in other marriages where people.
I see it in you, though.
Thank you. Can I see the list you made about me? But we can sometimes lump it all together. Imagine snowballs. Snowballs come together to make the head of the snowman. In processing emotions, it's really important to deal with the snowballs and to not let them all connect and be one big fat thing, because that is less accurate. And then we start lumping it together with more passionate words like, I hate this person. But really parsing it out, I think, would be the key to me.
That's good. I love that answer, too, the idea of parsing it and really understanding it better.
You got to know the pieces. You got to separate the pieces out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So another question that came in was saying about the different intensities of emotions, and does it really matter to be able to have the different words? And then the second part of that was, and where can they find this chart? It is. I think we have it on our website. If not, we will get this on our website, because I think it is really important. But it is also, we do highly recommend the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0. There's actually a little assessment in there for you. You can take that, understand better where you are. But then this chart literally is in that book, and I really, again, recommend it. This isn't a replacement for, this is an addition to. And yes, I'll answer this. But yes, it is really important to understand the intensities of the different words. And it's great to increase our vocabulary on how we feel about things. As a parent, to be able to help your children know, this is what this, this is what are you feeling? Or help them understand, what are they feeling? And broadening their vocabulary as you're broadening your own.
Absolutely.
You may not try to teach a 3-year-old, that you are exasperated. You don't want to hear that one quite that early. I think we hear it enough from our teenagers.
Right.
But Dad, you exasperate me.
I think that I am echoing what you're saying, because I think feeling words, of course I'm biased, this is our business, but I think feeling words are tremendously important with that nuance. Take an artist, for example. An artist knows all the colors, right? We have a daughter who paints and does different kind of colored pencils, and she knows words for colors that I don't even know. I'm like, can you just tell me?
It's red. That's what. No, that's not red, Dad.
Tell me kind of what it means. But with feelings, see, those are actually bridges to other people. And when I am able to articulate, for example, that I was feeling perplexed, that is helping you understand that I'm not angry with you, but I'm genuinely confused. And that's helpful for building a bridge. So while not everyone needs to know all the colors of the rainbow, well, I'm hoping all the colors of the rainbow, all the colors of a color palette or a color wheel, but I do think that learning feeling words and understanding the nuances, it builds bridges to other people and to our relationships. And I think it's tremendously valuable and something everyone should do.
All right, well, this is just the first of 4 competencies. And so we really just wanted to take our time today to help you become more self-aware, give you some strategies, helping you set a SMART goal so that you can move forward in your relationships, because you and your relationships are worth it.
That's right.
But we would be remiss to not mention that we have other webinars coming up in the month of May.
And if you are watching this after May, you can catch them on replay. Connecting on deeper levels is for all kinds of relationships, to understand a little bit more about what is at play with communication, different levels of communication, some really practical tips for you to dig in and have quality depth in your relationships and in your conversations.
And then the last one that we're going to be doing in May is Forget Fight and Flight, Seeking Resolution to Conflict. You may have heard the fight or flight feeling that people will have.
And now freeze is added.
Yes.
Fight, flight, and freeze.
Fight, flight, and freeze. That's 3 F's of life. Anyway.
But there's another way.
Yeah, and so we would love for you, if you've not already signed up, feel free to still sign up for these. And then again, catch them on replay if you missed it. They're there for you and on our website at relationshipexperts.org/webinars. So that way you can always check out the webinars that we have coming up, and you'll see those, and there also will be a link to say, here's how you get the rest of them.
Yes, and follow us on Facebook. That's a great way to find out what's coming up next and be encouraged and inspired to have awesome relationships.
And if you need anything, if you have a question, you want some further guidance, just give us drop us an email at grow@rel-experts.org. That's grow@rel-experts.org. But for tonight, this is it for us. We are going to sign off. Really appreciate all of you that have joined and the questions that you asked. And we look forward to catching with you guys again on May 8th and again on May 21st.
Thanks, everybody.